time that I sit down to record a teaching, an update, podcast, whatever it may be, I ask myself the question, by the time that it is actually released, will it be relevant? And then I'm reminded that, today, in these days, we're watching the news. I just looked, this is Tuesday morning, and it appears that the ceasefire has possibly come to an end, with Hamas doing what Hamas must do, and that is violence. That is their very name, their essence. And so for Hamas to go along with a so-called ceasefire, it is just not in their DNA to be able to do that. And so as I'll finish today, I'll look back and see the ramifications. It looks like at least 3 soldiers, IDF soldiers, were injured in this. But there's this thought of, well, let's look at the news, and then let's look at the Torah and see what's going on here. And we see that, like last week, and of course in this week's Torah portion also, as Jacob and Esau are in this time of meeting, Lavan is now becoming history. What's the first things we see? Well, don't let the women and children go. This is Jacob's message to Esau, that he puts the women and children out and tries to, through this, somehow appease Esau to not go through with his violent acts. Well, what have we seen in prior days? Thankfully, we've seen hostages released. Most of them have been women, children. We rejoice at every single one of them that is released. And Israel is caught within a very difficult place. I continue to hear people that say, well, they should just go in and bulldoze the whole thing. And well, as I mentioned to someone even last night, what if it was your child? What if it was your spouse that's in those tunnels? Israel, I believe, has, though they're not without their fault, I have got that, but I believe they have done an amazing job to try to rescue. And may all of these hostages be released. May it be soon. And then the destruction of Hamas. But I look not at the news. I'm trying not to look at the news and then the Torah, but let's look at the Torah and see that it is revealing the purpose of the news. What is going on in the news is the revelation of what is in the scriptures. As we've been going through this Torah portion, these Torah portions in the last weeks, going back to the Feast of Sukkot, how many times they've been lining up with the events that are going on in the world today. And is it going to become even more clear as we go? And what's the outcome? What is the goal of all of this? How do we describe what is happening on a daily basis? I'd like to take you to, I'm not going to read them, but I'm going to take you to one chapter in Scripture, and that is Ezekiel chapter 37. If I was to be asked, what is happening in the world today? It is not about wars and rumors of wars. It's not about famines and earthquakes and volcanoes in Iceland and various things. It is about the uniting of a family. And that is what this Torah portion is about. These are the words that were spoken by Yeshua in John chapter 17, verse 21. These words of that they may be one have been used out of context by people that did not understand the scriptures. When we get an understanding of Ezekiel chapter 37, it's like the whole book to me comes alive. And if you've never read Batya Wooten's book of Who is Israel, the work by Eddie Chumney of the 2 houses of Israel, I challenge you to go back and look at this, because when we look at the prayer, what's called the high priestly prayer of Yeshua, that they may be one, that has been used, that the denominations would come together, and well, that he wasn't thinking about that. The only two groups of people he would have been thinking about in that day was the prophecy of Ezekiel chapter 37, the two houses, the two sticks coming together. So what is happening in our world? It is about the reunification. It is about a reunion that is coming between two kingdoms that were separated, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. I mean, go back to Genesis chapter 32 in last week's Torah portion. What's the last thing that happened? Then Yaakov saw them. He said, "This is Elohim's camp," and he called the place two camps. So Jacob himself separated his family into two different camps. Now, his thinking is that, in case Esau destroys one, there will be the other. That's from, I believe, his natural thought. But, in the end, we see this as an amazing prophecy of Ephraim and Judah. I don't understand the whole thing. I don't think that any of us really do. But the scriptures tell us that there must be, in order for truth to be established, there must be two or three witnesses. Could we see this as the kingdom of Judah, the kingdom of Ephraim, and let's throw in the foreigners that have been joined to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, and through the three of them coming together as one, we will see a full revelation of who the Messiah is, the fullness, the revelation of who Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh is, the living Torah, the written Torah lived out through a people, and truth is established upon the earth. Now, this is going to become a reconciliation. In just a few minutes, after I'm finished with this video, I have 3 different teachings to do today. But I'm going to be I'm going to be releasing a message for the month of December. I'm going back and forth on the title of that, but it is going to be somewhere along the lines of why I do not call myself a Christian and why I do not go to church. So if you'd like a copy of that, it's available from our website for those, our partners. If you would like a copy, I'd be glad to send you an MP3, no strings attached. If you get to the end of it and think, I need to be investing in this ministry, well, I'd appreciate that. But this reconciliation is going to be one that's, I was thinking about this kind of funny, strange, funny, I guess, that in the United States, we fought what's called a civil war. In the end, we're told that the North won, and any true Southerner would say, no, we're just waiting for some things to happen, because there has not really been a reconciliation. I drove across the Mason-Dixon line earlier this year. We still have the Northerners that think that they should put the sugar in the biscuits instead of the tea, and vice versa in the South. So there's still a little reconciliation along the way. Silly, but there is in our minds, in many of us, especially those of us that are from the South, there is this thing of, well, we're not quite reconciled yet, because there's some issues. Well, when the truth of Ephraim and Judah come together, as Lenny and Varda's song says, there's going to be a complete reconciliation, and we should look forward to those days. Now, Jacob separates his family into two camps, and he's still trying to make peace with Esau. I just read an article by Moshe Kempinski this morning, once again, that kind of went into the names of Jacob and Esau and what they mean. And I think it's very prophetic for our day, and a message to each one of us, and actually is going to go to the end of this Torah portion, in that Jacob's name, the root of it, when we go back far enough, actually can mean step by step. I guess that must be why the song "Step by Step" by Rich Mullins is so important to me. Has been for many years of life. That Jacob is about a person who is continually moving forward. Moving forward to what? Moving forward to the kingdom, to the destination. Whereas Esau, his name, the root word of Esau is done. I'm done. I've arrived at where I want to be. I am satisfied with everything of my life. Jacob is looking towards something, looking towards someone, looking toward a kingdom the same as his grandfather did. Whereas Esau, on the other hand, his life is all about himself. And, well, I've got what I want to get, so I'm pretty much done with everything and everybody. This idea that he is wanting to make peace with Esau, I think we need to look at this for a moment. And this is both on the side of Judaism, maybe I'll say on the side of Christianity. I think I would be more accurate to say on the side of those that are following or trying to follow or learn about the Hebrew roots, Messianic. Those of us who are studying the instructions of the Torah, but still have a firm faith in what we believe, who we believe in, of Yeshua as Messiah, son of Joseph. Those Torah portions are coming up pretty soon. So this thing of appeasement, what is happening in Israel today with the political nature? Well, the reason that Israel is where it is today is because of appeasement. We can see that that those who are called Palestinians, the Arab nations, are the descendants of, both in a spiritual sense and in a natural sense in most cases, descendants of Esau. The only thing in Esau's mind is the destruction of Jacob, the one who would later be called, in this Torah portion, will be called Israel. There is no appeasement in Esau, none at all. There is only one outcome that is in his mind. It is that thing of yes, we want a ceasefire. We fire, you cease. That's it, period, absolute. So what has happened in Israel today is going back to, let's say, 1967, when Moshe Dayan gave back, appeased the Arab nations by giving the Temple Mount back to those nations. He didn't have to do that. The Israel flag was flying over the Temple Mount. It could have been in total Israeli control through these years. Now, I know the backstory is that God has his timing. I got all that. Okay? That's not where I'm talking about. Go back to 2005. Appeasement. Why do I have this? There it is. This orange flag, or this orange banner. It's because of the Gaza pullout. At the time, there were Jews and Arabs, this was during the Intifada, the Oslo War. There was uprising, yes. But why were they left there in 1948 to begin with? Why is it that Israel as a nation did not drive out their enemies? Appeasement. So, but what about, let's take our eyes off of the Jewish nation called Israel, and let's look over at the house of Ephraim. Let's look over at the Messianic Hebrew roots. How much appeasement is there still to the Catholic Church? This is going to be my message I'm recording later today. How much appeasement is still that within our communication, within our lifestyle. That well, you know, we just got to make excuses. I'm going to just so that the children don't feel left out. We're going to do some presents on December 25th. That's appeasement, ladies and gentlemen. There comes a time in which we have to take a stand and quit appeasing those that should be called our enemies. The first place in that, I guess, would be to say that the doctrines of Catholicism, the doctrines of Marcion, of Constantine, of Martin Luther, those doctrines are my enemy. Those doctrines have caused death in this nation, in this people called Israel. And there's no room in my book, I pray, for appeasement. Now, moving on from there, in verse 11, Yaakov starts to go through this, and when we see the word Yaakov, let's understand that this is the father of Ephraim and Judah, which would become Ezekiel chapter 37 and what is going on with us, that Jacob goes through a process here, first of all, of humility. He says, I am not worthy of the love and faithfulness you have shown your servant since I crossed the Jordan. You know, anybody that feels like you're worthy of blessings in the exile, you need to get a really good dose of humility here. We're not worthy of anything. We're not worthy of even the very thought that the creator of the universe would know or call out our names. We're not worthy of anything. But yet in his grace, in his mercy, he has called us. He has blessed us in a time of exile. And I believe is now turning us back from that exile. It says that first of all, he goes to a place of humility. And then in verse 12, 11, depending on your translation, it says, please rescue me from my brother. It is a cry for deliverance. And then there's an admittance of the fear. Admittance of this fear that he has of Esau. Let me just put it to us. I'm not talking about Israel, the Jewish nation, the Jewish people right now. I'm just talking to the vast majority of people that will be watching me, which are followers of Yeshua as Mashiach ben Yosef. You believe, as I do, that he will return as Mashiach ben David, the conquering king of Isaiah chapter 2, various other places. You and I are pursuing a Torah-based lifestyle. But let's face it, how in these days that we're in, leading up to the end of December, are we still afraid? Are we still afraid of our relatives that don't believe the same as we do? Now, I'm not saying that we should go to Grandma's house and burn down her tree, as some have tried to do through the years. I'm not saying we should make enemies. I'm not saying we should go in with an attitude of superiority, an attitude of arrogance, which, by the way, yours truly and many of us have been very guilty of through the years. I think we would all agree with that. But at the same time, we need to take a stand. And as the battle is raging today in the land of Israel, I think that there is a battle raging, a spiritual battle that's raging. And we need to be a people that repent of our compromise, of our desire to appease. What did Jacob do here? instead of going directly to his brother Esau, well, he first, he sends, it says that he sends messengers. Let's see, where am I at? In chapter 33. He sends messengers ahead of him, and then he sends gifts, and then he's finally going to see him somewhere along the way. But, this is kind of like, instead of going to your a relative, a friend, someone that you used to go to church with or whatever, and saying, okay, let me sit down with you, please. Could we schedule some time that you and I could sit down together, face to face, man to man, woman to woman, sister to sister, brother to brother, whatever it is, and discuss the reasons that my lifestyle has changed? Or, well, I think I'll send a video. I'll take a video of, I'll do take one of the teachings that, that Eddie did, or that Mike did, or that Bill Cloud did, or Brad, or, Brad still has, Carol still has all of his stuff up online. I'll send a video. That's appeasement. That's sending the messengers ahead with gifts. I'm gonna send you a birthday card with with a gift card and a CD in it. That's kind of the same thing, instead of going face to face. Now, in the process of all this, the Father's faithful. I mean, if you can at any moment in time explain to me in such a way that I can understand his faithfulness, you got my total attention. Because I cannot for the life of me understand why he is faithful to a people and a person who many times is not. It just is beyond me. But in the midst of his appeasement nature, he comes face to face with someone. It says in chapter, what are we in? 32 still, in verse 23. It says, he got up the night, took his 2 wives, 11 children, and went across. And then it says, then some man wrestled with him until daybreak. Now, there's been a lot of discussion through the years over what the words "some man" means. Some have said this is a pre-incarnate of Yeshua, of Messiah. Some have said this is Satan. I'm not going there. Some have said he is wrestling with the spirit that is behind Esau. Okay. But maybe the reason it says some man is because in the end, we're not told because we don't need to know, because that's not the moral of the story. It's not about who he wrestled with. It's about who he was wrestling with. And it was not about, let me explain that one. I know what I just said. It was not about the person that he was wrestling with, but the person of himself that he was wrestling with. See, here's the issue. Here's what it all comes down to in the end. The wrestling match that night, or as Barry would say from Grassy Creek, wrestling match, was about him wrestling for his own identity. In the end, he still doesn't know who he is. He was, second to come out of the womb. He bought the birthright. Okay, so I got it, but, I wasn't really heir to it, because I was, if I was truly the heir of the birthright, then the Almighty would have had me born first, but he didn't. So maybe, was I really supposed to buy the birthright from Esau? Is it really mine? And besides that, I mean, you know, my name means supplanter. I know that the reason that I was grabbing a hold of Esau's heel is because I thought he was trying to kill me. But, you know, maybe he wasn't. Maybe I was just fearful of him. And, well, then there was the whole issue about dressing up as my brother and deceiving my dad. And I know that because I had the birthright, I really was walking in the footsteps, in the shoes of the firstborn. But. And so Jacob has gone through these years. Here's my take on it. Jacob's gone through these years not really knowing who he is. He's a man that is he himself is caught between two camps. And he must, in the end, figure out who he is. And this is why his name is changed. Because his name being changed by this some man is under direction of the Almighty himself. And this is to once and for all solidify in his own mind who he is. Now, this is an interesting, at least to me, an interesting thought. Some things interest me, don't interest anybody else, but the same thing holds true with you, okay? I was just thinking this morning, as the nation of Israel, 1948. All right, you see behind me, over my shoulder, a flag of Israel. In front of me is a flag of Israel, a flag of Jerusalem. The things of Israel are pretty much every single wall of our house, or every room at least, has something to do with Israel. I have mezuzahs on all the doors, and I have Udi Morot's paintings all over the place. And, anybody walks in the door is like, wow, I know where you're at. So, wouldn't it have been better? Wouldn't it have been more truthful in 1948 for the nation of Israel to become the nation of Jacob? I mean, after all, do you not see what happens over there? Do you not see the appeasement over Esau? Do you not see well, okay, let's bring it out here, that we're going to see some things with when he comes back and into the land, and we're going to see Shechem and Dinah, and then we're going to see the false gods, the foreign gods that the people still have. I mean, he's not living at the moment. He's not living like Israel. He's living like Jacob. And he continues to live like Jacob all the way to his death. Wouldn't it not have been a little bit more truthful to have the nation of Jacob today? But instead, 1948, we have the nation of Israel. And why is that? Because in 1948, the Father declared their destination. This is my 2 shekels worth. This is my opinions. In 1948, can a nation be born in a day? Yes. But in the birth, he saw the destination. And that is why, as we go back to history, there was much debate over what to call that fledgling nation. Should it be called Israel? There was much discussion on the table regarding this. But yet it was I believe through the direction of the Almighty, the nation was called Israel, because in the birth he saw the destination. So we could put that verse in of, I know the plans I have for you, plans for good and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope, out of Jeremiah. We could put in that he's declared the end out of the beginning. I could put in all kinds of things regarding what I teach with the young adults. And by the way, I forget to mention that this next Shabbat, not the first week of December, the second week, the first part of Hanukkah, I'll be in Waynesville, Georgia. So if you'd like any information on that, please let me know. So back to the subject. So these are things I teach that he sees us because he has declared the end out of the beginning. He can see us in the kingdom and in the womb at the same time. So the birthing of the nation, he put the name Israel because he saw the destination of the nation. Now, that's true, yes, but he still doesn't live it up. And we shouldn't be pointing fingers at Jacob for doing this, because he sees Esau, and in verse 10, Yaakov said, "No, please, if now I have won your favor," and this all goes back to chapter 32, and a word that I have underlined in verse 20, 21 or 20, depending on your translation, "I will appease him first." Okay, so here's the appeasement process. "No, please, if now I have won favor with, then accept my gift. Just seeing your face has been like seeing the face of God. Now that you have received me, please accept this gift." Come on, Israel. Just look at your brother and say, "You know, Bubba, your name is prophetic of my relationship with you. Your name means done. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm done with you. We're finished. It's over. I'm done. I'm out of here. If you ever turn toward me," well, you're losing power here. "If you ever turn toward me or my family, you're not going to like the consequences. See ya." But he doesn't do that. And is this is just speculation here. This is maybe a little judgmental, but is this the reason now that we see him coming back? He goes across the river. He comes into the land of Israel, of Canaan. And what was it that he said? Let me refresh my mind here. What was it that he said? "If you will lead me from this place, and you will give me water and clothing, and you will bring me back here to this place called Beit El, the place of the ladder, then I will give you 1/10 of everything that I have with me." So why is it that we have chapter 34 and the account of the sister Dinah or Dinah? Now, it is my opinion, and I know that, when we get into this, okay, everything is laid out by the Almighty. I got all that, all right? Except for, I just really feel like chapter 34 should not be in the scripture. I didn't say we should not trust it. I didn't say we should take it out. But if it had not been for, in my opinion, the continued compromise of Jacob not living as Israel, as I'm saying this, I know that we should be like, well, I still personally live a lot more like Jacob than I want. I got that. But if it had been that Jacob had gone back directly, if he had focused on his statement, if he'd looked at his family, the wives, the children, everybody else, and said, "Guys, let me tell you something. I made a promise. over 20 years ago, I made a promise. And as soon as we step over that river, we are not stopping. Get some rest now. Eat a little extra. Do whatever you got to do. But we are not stopping until we get to Beit El. Chapter 34 would not exist. Because, see, he goes instead to Shechem. And let's visit the old homestead of my granddad. Whatever. But at Shechem, we see that Dinah gets involved with some of the locals in Shechem. Okay, and here again, we get this thing of compromise. And why is it that she was allowed to go there? Why is it that she is allowed to have a pajama party in Shechem? Why is it that she is in that day? It's not like our society. Okay, the women of that day were a lot more controlled, and I'm not saying that right or wrong. Okay, that's just a fact. And so the very fact that she was able to go to the pajama party again gives us an insight into Jacob not having as much of an eye on his family as he should have. Again, not judging anybody, just pointing out some facts and maybe this, let this message sink in. Might help some future generations. But in the end, she gets, we know what happens to her. She gets in trouble. And Simeon and Levi end up going in and devising this plan, which I think is kind of a pretty cool plan to me. But, is it the right thing to do because of what they did to their sister? Well, yeah. There needed to be judgment. Was it the wrong timing? Okay. Was it needed in the first place? No. But, to me, the most difficult words are the words that are not in the chapter. It's not what I read in chapter 34. It's what I don't read in chapter 34. And that is, starting in verse 30, but Yaakov said to Simeon and Levi, "You have caused me trouble by making me stink in the opinion of the local inhabitants." Excuse me. It's your daughter who has been raped. And you're concerned about how, well, I just thought of this. I mean, this is the Torah portions, right? Your daughter has been raped, and you're concerned about what the local media is going to say? Think about that one for a while. What has been since the beginning of this war, what has been the underlying statement? What is the media going to say? What is going to be world opinion? What will the unwanted nobodies, the UN, what will they say? What will the European Union say? What will President Biden say? I don't care what he says. I mean, all these nations, Jacob, stand up as Israel. Anybody can get this part of this to the Knesset for me, please do. Get somebody to translate it. Most of them know English anyway. Jacob, you need to start living like Israel. It doesn't matter what world opinion is, it matters what God's opinion is. Your daughters were raped. Your children were abused. A story of a young person that was interviewed and asked, how long were you there? He said, well, maybe a year. They don't know. They didn't know how long. Some of them were kept in cages. The abuse that happened. No one should allow the world, Israel should not be allowing the world to forget the abuse that has happened to those people. Israel, on the other hand, or Jacob, on the other hand, is, it made me look bad in the media. Since I don't have many people, they'll line themselves together against me and attack me, and I will be destroyed, I and my household. Well, if I don't have the support of Biden, of Congress, of the EU, of the UN, if we don't have the support of America, we're not going to win. Yes, you will. If you have the support of the Almighty. Israel has the support of the Creator of the universe. Israel doesn't need anybody else's support. It's my prayer that at some point in time, and I believe that there are young men and women on the front lines, commanders, there are people in Israel that are understanding this, and this is why they're putting so much pressure on the prime minister and on the religious leaders and the political leaders of Israel to not come to a place of appeasement here, but to see this through, is because Israel as a people living in the land of Israel, this is a strong statement, but one I totally believe. Israel as a people, the Jewish nation as a people, living within the current borders of the land of Israel, is being called to have more faith in their God than in the men and women around them, that in the end will sell them out. That would be our prayer. That should be our prayer today, that they would have an encounter. I'm not talking theology here. That Israel, the Jewish people as a whole, would have an encounter with the living Elohim that would make them stand in the face of their enemies. Because see, the last verse, and this is the one that troubles me so much, they replied, Simon and Levi replied, should we let our sister be treated like a whore? To the political leaders of Israel, should you allow your women to be treated like whores and you not do anything about it? See, I'm trying to get to it. Here's the problem for me. There is no verse 32. There's only verse 31. There's no verse 32 because Jacob has no answer, because he's living like Jacob and not like Israel. Now, to further, and I'm not one that just beats up on the people of these people, and to make them look bad so that I can look a little bit better in my own eyes, because Jacob, he's one of the patriarchs. He reveals things in us, and the things that are revealed sometimes are not pretty. But it goes on, and he said in chapter 35, Elohim said to Yaakov, get up, go to Beit El, go to where you told me you were going to come back to. And he says, get rid of the foreign gods. Excuse me, foreign gods, foreign idols. Wait a minute. We left Lavan behind, and we had the whole thing with Rachel and Lavan, and she was hiding the foreign gods. Who's got these foreign gods? Well, it's obvious that a number of the people that are in this family have foreign gods. Israel today, am I talking about the house of Judah or the house of Ephraim? when I say this, that the family of called Israel has foreign gods? I'm talking about both. We should be serious about getting rid of the foreign gods. And I'll tell you the reason. And I know that, I could go back to the massacre and the things that were revealed. I got all that. Okay, Israel the Jewish people as a nation, there are foreign gods. Ephraim, the foreigners that have joined themselves, there are still foreign gods of Christianity, of Catholicism. We got plenty to throw away, folks. I mean, we can have a huge dumpster fire here pretty easily. All of us can. But see, in my opinion, Jacob did not take this verse, this command seriously. Because we see later with Rachel, it says that she would die in childbirth. This is verse 18. As she was dying, she named her son Ben-Oni, which is translated son of my grief. But his father called him Benjamin, son of my right hand, son of the south. The words Ben-Oni, and this is very easy to look at in Blue Letter Bible or wherever you want to go to. The word Oni, Ben, of course, is son. Oni is the root of that is Aleph Vav Nun, I believe it is. And it can mean trouble. It can mean sorrow. It can also mean wickedness, and can also mean idolatry. And it's my estimation, my belief, that in the end, Rachel did not give up her foreign gods. Those that came out of her house, the house of Laban, she never got rid of them. Even after she was given an opportunity in chapter 35, the beginning of chapter 35, she was given an opportunity to get rid of these things. See, the Father will come to us in grace before he comes to us in judgment. But for those who refuse his grace, refuse his mercy, refuse to let go. What is an idol? Let me finish with this, just a couple moments. An idol is a monument to the past. An idol is a monument to a moment. An idol is something that we can trust in if God doesn't work out. An idol is something that instead of turning to God, I turn to it. Boy, it's plan B. What is there in life today as we've gone through these last 50-something days? What have we turned to instead of turning to him? What is Israel as a country turned to instead of turning to him? What is Israel as a people turned to instead of turning to him? What are you and I as part of that family turning to instead of turning to him? Because whatever it is, in the end, there's coming a time in which mercy and grace will be no more. And because of the kadosh, holy nature of the Almighty, he must judge those that do not repent. Now, ending, it says that Jacob went back to the house of his father, spent some good time with Isaac, It says, but then he breathed his last, died, and was gathered to his people. An old man full of years, and his sons Esau and Yaakov buried him. And the war goes on, because Jacob and Esau stood next to each other at a grave, at the cave of Machpelah. They stood there in the midst of the covenant of Abraham, of Isaac, in a place that Jacob would one day be buried. And Jacob did not put an end to the battle over the covenant. And for that reason, the battle continues to go on to this day and is the news of our day. A lot to think about. Shabbat Shalom, Shavua Tov. Have a blessed, prosperous week. Bezrat Hashem, God willing. See you again next week. If you're anywhere around Waynesville, Georgia, which is just north of Savannah, Jacksonville, that whole area, if you're anywhere around there, I'd love to see you. Can give you some contact information of what we'll be doing. Until next week, and may this be for the nation of Israel as a whole, Ephraim, Judah, the foreigner that has been joined to Hashem, the land and people, be strong.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmarecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.